That's what Mike said too.
Hide back there with the news, you get anybody comes in here and tries to
Oh,
shoot
okay,
us.
okay.
She's protecting us.
He's protecting us from all the Muslims.
You ain't right.
You
Yeah.
ain't right.
You ain't right.
Yeah, right here it is, right?
Okay. Thank you all for coming tonight. Really appreciate it. Those of you that are tuning in on the airways, like us on YouTube and Pastor Jeffrey Goodine. Subscribe and hit the bell to be notified. Like us on Facebook. Follow us at Church on Wheels. Let the Good News Roll. That's our Facebook group page. On Facebook Live, I'm Jeffrey Goodine. On Twitter, which is now X, at Goodine Jeffrey. Instagram, Goodine Jeffrey. And Clubhouse, Church on Wheels Ministry. As I said before, Church on Wheels is already taken on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So I had to do the next best thing, which is Jeffrey Goodine. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse. Send me an email at pastorjeffreygoodine@gmail.com. That's pastorjeffreygoodine@gmail.com. And I will add you to the list and you will get a copy of the handout so that you could follow along with us. So pastorjeffreygoodine@gmail.com. That's pastorjeffreygoodine@gmail.com. And I'll add you to the list and you will get a copy of the handout so that you can tune in, invite a friend, have a watch party. Tonight is Psalm 34. We're continuing our Bible study on the book of Psalms. Psalm 34. Now, Psalm 34, and it's called the 34th division of Psalms. Psalms really not in chapters per se. It is divisions, and they are songs or that are hymns or something you're supposed to chant every day. Say, chant a psalm a day. And this psalm, Psalm of David, when he changed his behavior before Abimelech, who drove him away and he departed. Now, when you see this, when you read this psalm is when David was running from Saul. And, you know, to put it in context, David had already slew Goliath on the Philistines as a young boy. Now he's older, and he was appointed to be the successor and to Saul. Well, David, you know, was going to war, and the people were saying, you know, Saul kills thousands, but David killed 10,000s, and Saul got, you know, a little bent out of shape about it. So he was out to kill David. So David was running. David went to the city of Gad. He figured he'd be safe. Well, when he got there, some Philistines recognized who he was. And so they captured him and took him to the king Abimelech. Now David, fearing for his life, changed his behavior. He made himself look like a madman, like he was mad. He started letting spittle and dribble coming out of his mouth, and he was writing on the walls and everything, and just acting all kind like he was crazy. And when they took him to Abimelech, Abimelech says, "Why are y'all bringing me this crazy man? I got enough crazy people already." You know, I'm just paraphrasing here when you read the story. So I got enough crazy people anyway. So we don't need him. And so he drove him away. That's what saved David from the hands of the Philistines. He went running from Saul, and when he got to Gad, they recognized him. This is us, like us running somewhere or going somewhere, and we figure that nobody knows us but somebody there recognizes you. Yes, somebody recognized David. And this is the psalm that is attributed to him. Psalm 34 is attributed to him during his time that he was, and this is a Psalm of David, during the time that short time that he was in Gad, and he was before King Abimelech, who was a Philistine, and he was captured. Well, I don't know if he was captured, but I guess he was running from one, let's say, he jumped out of the frying pan into the fire. And so he changed his behavior. Now, the Bible doesn't say anything about whether or not God told him to do it, or it doesn't say that. All it says is that he changed his behavior in front of Abimelech because he knew that Abimelech was going to kill him. He knew that. He feared for his life. And so that's what this psalm is attributed to. The Psalm of David, when he changed his behavior before Abimelech, who drove him away and he departed, which means that now when he drove him away, then he left Gad, and then he left with his life in essence. So, you know, in our lives, we've been running from something and we ended up in worse trouble than we were when we started. And that's where we find David in this, and this psalm is attributed to him. Now, Psalm 34 and 17, and I'm reading from the King James Version. The righteous cry, and the Lord heareth, and delivereth them out of all their troubles. Now, I think that when in this context, you know, that David, you know, when you read Psalm 34, you'll see that he's giving praise praise and trust. He's letting the reader know that he trusts. And he's giving praise for what he's done. And all of us, you know, at some point along in our lives, if it has not already happened, is that we've called on him in our times of trouble, and he delivered us out of our troubles. Now, when we look back over our lives, we see times, in those dark times, or however you want to take a look at them, he delivered us. When we called on him, he delivered us, but he delivered us in his time, not our time. See, our time is yesterday. We call on it today, but we wanted it to happen yesterday. And a lot of times when he goes to answer, he doesn't answer right away. But he did answer. It just, you won't realize it. You won't bring it to your remembrance until some time. And what has to happen is we have to fight through things because, you know, when we realize, when we come to the conclusion that God is God and God all by himself, and we trust him, then we call on him. And at that time, he delivers us. But our delivery had already happened. Now, remember the story of Daniel. Daniel prayed 21 days before his answer came. 21 days. Now, I know that we like to pray and we do all of that, you know. I mean, for the first few days, first 7 days, it's okay. But around day 14, day 16, we get a little weary because we're expecting that answer to come. Well, what's holding up our answer is the same thing that Gabriel told Daniel. We heard you as soon as you said it. But I had to fight through the demons to get there. So surely we ask God to save us, deliver us. But he has to fight through our demons. Do you know, I mean, you might not want to do this, but anyway, just, hypothetically. If we could see the demons that are around us, would we want to be us? If we could see the demons all around us, would we want to be us? So you see, when our prayers are heard, our prayers are heard. They're answered. But they have to fight through the demons, and those are the demons of untrust. Those are the demons of or sometime praise, I guess, if you want to call it that. So he's got to fight through that. He's got to fight through that. He's got to fight through the demons to get to us. That do we really, really believe? Do we really, really trust him? And a lot of times, we say things like, I don't know if I want to pray for that because, that's kind of big. That means that your fear is larger than your prayer. Well, let's flip that around. If we can get our prayer greater than our fear, then we would do trust. Now, here David, he said it, that the righteous cry. The righteous cry out. Now, when I'm saying the righteous cry out, it's because, the evil one is after the righteous. You know what he says? The Christian want to be Christian, or somebody say you should be a Christian. He's after you. He said, I already got them over there. I'm not worried about them. It's them ones that go to the church. And when you look at the prophets, when you look at the prophet Jeremiah, Jeremiah's job was to prophesy at the temple gate, not out like the other prophets. His was the prophet at the temple gate. These are the people that are going to the temple on a regular basis. Religious people, however you want to call it. His job by God was to prophesy to them. And do you know what they did to Jeremiah? I mean, when you read Jeremiah, you'll see, now these were church folk now. Not the enemy, as they say. These were church folk. And what they did to Jeremiah. They put him in jail and they got him out, and then he still would not stop. And then he used to get it from the rooftops and all of that. And so they took him and threw him in a cistern. And if you ever been in one, you know what a cistern, the muck and the mire down in there, and they threw him in there to get him away. And God sent an Egyptian to get him. And Jeremiah said, how did you know I was here? He said, God sent me. So him trusting that God will provide. So you see, God has all of these things all throughout the stories in the Bible. And so tonight we're going to take a look at the righteous cry. Now, the righteous. Now, we all can consider ourselves unrighteous because of the evilness in our hearts. But when we cry out to him, he answers our cry. All of us got stories like that. Now, we got some stories we don't want to tell nobody. We'll take this to our grave. But we got stories to tell that in my time of trouble, I called on him. But I called on him sincerely with my heart. And he answered me. He delivered me. but I can't tell my friends, you know, I can't tell my family members because they see me this way. So I can't tell them because then it'll make it look like I'm a hypocrite. We all hypocrites. Come on. We all hypocrites. You know, and the thing I love to say is your friend got a story too, he just ain't telling you. He got one too. Or she got one too. They got one too. But they just not telling you. And what they're waiting on is they're waiting on you to tell them your story. And then they'll tell you their story. But until you, because they see you this way, until you do that, then they're going to keep theirs. Not really a secret, but you won't know. You won't know until years later. And you'll go, wow, they're in the church now. Wow, it's because they trusted. And here David trusted. Now, the Bible didn't say that God told him to act like a wild, crazy man. The Bible doesn't say that. What the Bible says is what he did. And when you read this, song from the beginning to the end, you will find that what David is saying is that even in my wretched life, as a wretched soul, when I cry, he hears me. And not only do he hear me, but he delivereth me from all of my troubles. All of my troubles. All of my troubles. So whatever's troubling us, we call on him, but we got to trust that he will do it. Now, think about it. David running from Saul all these years. And God was delivering him. But now he's in the camp of an enemy from a long time ago that never forgot. Now he figured he can go to this little town and, and hide. But somebody recognized him. And he knew that when they recognized him, he knew he was dead. He just knew it. So then, that's when he faked to be a madman. And Abimelech felt sorry for him. Abimelech said, he told people, why are you bringing me this crazy man? I got enough crazy people in my, already. I don't need him. And so David got away with his life. And this psalm attributed him. And if you listen about it, the righteous cried. David cried out. And the Lord delivered them out of all his troubles. He went away a free man. No troubles from the enemy. He went away a free man. So when we talk about this psalm, this historical context of it is a psalm of praise and trust. When you read this psalm, praise and trust, he's praising God for what God has done for him. And he's talking about it as opposed to him. Now, we all got stories that we can tell people who's willing to listen about what God has done for us. And trust me, I don't want to start because we don't have that kind of time in Bible study for what everything he's done for me. And what happens with the list is some things we don't mention. It's like getting an award and then trying to thank all the people. And you know what? You're always going to leave somebody out. And they're going to get the angriest. Because they say, you was mentioning everybody else's name. Why you didn't mention me? Remember me? Remember when you needed them $5 to put some gas in your car and to get you there and you didn't have the $5 and you took my last $5 because I felt, something for you and you didn't mention my name? Well, that was 20 years ago. Well, yeah, it's still, but I still gave you $5. But when we start to, all we can do is appreciate what God has done for us. And here David is appreciating what God has done for him. He said the righteous cry. Now David is considered righteous, even though David's reign as king was all war. David had blood on his hands. He murdered a man. But even God said, he's after my own heart. So, he cried.
Because he kept repenting.
Right. He kept repenting. He cried and God heard him. So when we cry in the midnight hour, when we by ourselves, nobody is around. When we cry, he hears us. And I always make a plea is that when from this house, from this church, this house, that when you hear a cry of repentance, when you hear a cry of asking for forgiveness, to hear from your home in heaven and forgive. And forgive. And forgive. So when we take a look at Psalm 34, and again I'm reading from the King James Version. Verse 1 says, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. Now, think of it this way. This is the way I like that. When I like that is because I'm running from death. I'm running from sure death. I go hide over here. Now I'm into sure death. Sure death. Because it's in the lands of the Philistines who did not forget. So he'll bless them at all times. See, what I'm saying, we bless God in the good times sometimes. But we call on him in the bad times all the time. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, congregation, anybody can hear me. We call on him in the good times sometimes. We call on him in the bad times all the time. And guess what? He delivers us every time. Because in our bad times, we give a heartfelt confession of who he is. We call him from our hearts, not our mouths, in our bad times. But in our good times, sometimes it's just from our mouths. Because it's, cliche-ish, It's a good thing. Sounds good. May not be biblical, but it sounds good. But here, the psalmist is saying, David, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continue to be in my mouth. My soul shall make her boast in the Lord. The humble shall hear thereof and be glad. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. You see, the psalmist now is saying all of us. Now you look at verse 4. Verse 4 says, I sought the Lord, and he heard me, and delivered me from all of my fears. Well, that's verse 17. So you see in this psalm, he's already talking praise and trust. He's already telling you that I sought the Lord. I went looking for him. And you know what? Let me tell you where he is. Right where you left him. That's where he is. Right when you went off course, you go back there. He's right there waiting on you. Verse 5 said, they looked unto him and were lightened, and their faces were not ashamed. Verse 6, this poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all his trouble. Verse 6, again, praise and trust. So you see, this psalm here is praise and trust, and we just at verse 6. And he's praising God for what he has done for him. And how many, if we go through the day, how many times do we thank God for what he's done for us? Don't answer that, Don't answer that. But you need to think about that. When when through the day. But yet, when things get tough and don't seem to go our way per se, then we call on him. And every time we call on him, he answers. Now, he may not answer the way we wanted to answer, but he's answered it. He answered it. He answered it. Verse 7, the angel of the Lord encamped round about them that fear him and delivereth them. He's saying the angel of the Lord. He surrounds us, those that fear him. And fear here is not the fear that we call fear, that we would think of fear. This is reverence, revering him. And, I say this, you probably don't want God as an enemy. You might not want that. But fear here is reverence, not fear like we would say, I fear him. No. It says, oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusteth in him. Taste and see that he is good. Now, we just had Thanksgiving. Everybody, taste this. Taste that. If you ever, I'm going to say a side note, if you ever tasted something and the Rolodex roll over in your head, like, what is this that I'm eating? And it never stops. Okay, you say, yeah, and you kind of, okay, you kind of smooth it over by saying, okay, and then you put it down, and then you don't go back to it anymore. Okay? But things that you taste, and they're good, you eat it up. And David is telling you here, taste the Lord, he's good. Eat him up. There's enough for everybody. But I don't know. Oh, fear the Lord, ye his saints, for there is no want to them that fear him. Now think about what David had said, that Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. For those that fear him, there is no want. We don't want for anything. Now there's a difference between, greed and a want. Surely you want this. And you may ask God, can you give me this? And he probably might say, he'll probably say, yeah, no, not now. Because what you're asking for, you may not be able to handle it right now. I got to get you ready to handle that. No, it is not in your best interest. No matter what your crystal ball says, it's not in your best interest. And then he said yes. But when he said yes, you better be ready to move. Because it's going to come quick, fast, and in a hurry. Almost too much for you per se. They say he's not going to give us too much that we can't handle. He just wants us to change our priorities. That's all. Just change our priorities. And when you put him first, you see, when you put him first, like you have done, you see the results. So why not do it all the time? Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, congregation, anybody hear me? Why not do it all the time? It's because we got something else. We got another force out there that's fighting against us. And that's a strong force too. That's a strong force. And it's fighting against us, just like what Archangel Gabriel told Daniel. You know, I was dispatched as soon as your prayer was given up, but I had to fight through the demons to get here for you to see. So he had to fight through our demons, which means that he had to cut through the chase so that we trust. And when he knows that we trust him, then it will be enlightened. But think about this. This was free, y'all. This was free. Remember the time that you would ask God for something you thought it was very important to your life? Never happened. So you say, well, God, I called on you and you didn't do this and you didn't do that. And so we lose trust. Not knowing that God said that may not be in your best interest right now. But just hold on. But we don't want to hold on. We want it yesterday. And he said, hold on. Just hold on. It'll come. And boy, when it comes, it's coming in droves. But you ask him for the strength to take care of it. Verse 10 says, the young lions do lack and suffer hunger, but they that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing. Remember, every good thing, every good and perfect gift comes from the Lord. Now, Christmas time is coming. We're going to be buying gifts. You know that when you get that gift, you look at it, you go, all right, thank you. But deep down, you're like, what is this? Where's the receipt? Make sure that I can take this back. Because it didn't fit. But every gift that comes from the Lord is perfect. His timing is perfect. You couldn't have planned it no better. His timing is perfect. And it's a perfect gift right when you need it. Come, ye children, hearken unto me. I will teach you the fear of the Lord. Now, if you think about it, that sounds like Paul. That Paul was saying to them, for me to die and go to heaven, I win. That's a good thing for me. But if I do that, then I won't be here to tell you about Jesus Christ. So see, Paul was torn. So he's saying, come, listen to me. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. What man is he that desireth life and loveth many days, that he may see good? I hope that we want to do that. Verse 13 says, keep thy tongue from evil and thy lips from speaking guile. Boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. Do you know that the same mouth we bless, the same mouth curses? Same mouth. Same mouth. And yes, we do speak evil of people. Yes, we do. Don't lie and say you don't. Yes, you do. That's just one of our faults. The Bible speaks of that tongue. It can't be tamed. It can't be tamed. You can't do it. Because the evil one is always out there after you. You can't do it. It said, depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. It's amazing. Paul says every time you try to do good, evil is right there. And you know every time, and what we say, no good deed goes unpunished. Every time we try to do good, evil is right there. And sometimes when we try to do good, people take it as being bad. Go figure. The eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry. Yes, it is. Verse 16 says, the face of the Lord is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. And then at verse 17, which is our featured verse for tonight, the righteous cry, and the Lord heareth and delivereth them out of their troubles. Now that's what the third, fourth time in this psalm that he's talking about when he hears cry, that he crying unto God and God hears him and deliver him. So you see, this is that again, this goes with that song of praise and trust. The Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of all of them. And yes, the afflictions of the righteous. Now I'll tell you this, and I always say, whenever I talk to people, and they tell me that well, Pastor, I'm gonna come to church on Sunday and see you on Sunday, and you know what I tell them? You thought your life was a living hell. You just made a stand for Jesus Christ. Watch your life now. And I usually see them probably on a Wednesday or Thursday they miss church. And I just, I look out and say, yeah, I told you. How strong are you? Because it's coming. Trust me. I'm the pastor of the church, and he's after me all the time on Saturday. I mean, Saturday afternoon, Saturday night. Oh man, he's like, okay, you can lay in the bed and sleep. It's going to be this, and you don't have to do this. And man, I have to fight through that. I mean, just today, I was laying in the bed today. I was like, boy, Bible study, I don't know. I can send out an email. We can cancel Bible study. That kind of stuff flows through your head. Because he's after me. That's one of the afflictions. He's after me. And he's after you too. If you don't think he's after you, stand and confess Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior and watch your life. You can set your clock by. As soon as you get through with it, here it comes. But you got to recognize what it is.
You got to put your full armor on too.
Yes. Got to put that armor on, because if you don't, them fiery darts is coming, and they're non-stop.
Brian taught me that.
Yeah. They are non-stop. You like, don't he ever get tired?
Nope.
He said, no. In fact, I like this.
They got nothing else better to do.
Yeah, I like this. I got some friends too. Come on, y'all. Let's double it up on it. But here again, many are the afflictions of the righteous. What's that, number 5? But the Lord delivered him out of all of them. Praise and trust. He delivered. He keepeth all his bones. Not one of them is broken. Evil shall slay the wicked, and they that hate the righteous shall be desolate. The Lord redeemeth the soul of his servants, and none of them that trust in him shall be desolate. Now, you trust. Praise and trust. And the main thing I'm praised about is that they're saying, psalmist is saying that he heard my cry. He heard my cry, and he delivered me out of all of them. Now, in our questions for today, what is the significance of this song? Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. What is the significance of this song? Now, me personally, this song, it should remind you that you can call on him at any time. You can call on him at any time. Be it in the midnight hour or in the noonday. And listen, just because it's bright outside, that don't mean your life ain't dark. Just because it's bright outside, that don't mean that your life is not dark. Because we always hear people say, well, I'm going through a dark time. Well, that dark time is not really daylight and night in essence. It's that separation from God. That dark time. Because, you know, when you decide that, you know, and I've seen it, you know, off and on in my life. The dark time going on, you know, I said, I guess I'm going to go to church, you know, this Sunday. I'm going to church. You know, and mama happy, she happy, he going to church, you know. Then, you know, I fell off, and then it get another dark time, and then you end up going back and you keep wishy-washy. But remember, every time you go back, you get this feeling of regeneration when you go back. You get a regeneration. So my thing is do it all the time. Now, well, you're going to be perfect? No. But he don't want you perfect. He wants you as you are. He'll take care. You are perfect with your imperfections because you got him. Number 2, have you cried out to the Lord in certain situations? Supposed to be your eye there, so you can get your pencil circle that. I didn't catch that in spell check. And even when I read this 3 times, I still didn't get that. Maybe because I was singing in my mind. Have you cried out to the Lord in certain situations? Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Did I say yes, you have? Yes, you have. You know you did. You just don't want nobody to know. You just don't want anybody to know. Because they'll call you a hypocrite. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And then, do you believe and trust that he hears your cry and will deliver you? This is important right here. Sure, you call on him, but do you believe he will? You know, do you believe he will? Because if you believe he will, then you trust that he will. And you go on to do something else. Because you know he got this. That's why he said, bring it to the altar and leave it there. But you know, we can't take it to the altar and leave it there because that's our identity. That's how they know us with these troubles and things in our lives. They know us like that. You know, so now when it's, you know, it's over with, before you walk out the door, you go back to the altar and you pick that up and you take it with you. That means you don't trust him. You don't trust him. You just don't. And when you realize you don't trust him, when you realize that you don't trust God to do what he said he's going to do, you're in a bad spot. And you know it. You know, and you know it. Because now you're trying to figure out, how can I get God to back on my good side? I believe in Jesus, I believe in your son, I believe in that God. So, okay, those are words. Where's your trust? Where's your trust? Where's your trust? And the Bible speaks of trust, and the rich man got, and Jesus told him, give everything you got and come follow me. He started looking at all his riches. He really didn't trust that Jesus would take care of it. But we know that he will. We know that he will. But we don't want to tell nobody. See, they say, well, me being the pastor of the church and I done went through that, I should be telling everybody. But you can tell them too. Because you can reach people I can't reach. If they don't tune into this, if they don't catch me in the thing, and they don't live at my house, and they don't come to the church, and and they're not in my circles, I can't reach them. But they're in your circle. And do you know, if you ever done a Venn diagram, whatever, in the circles, all of that interconnect, and you know what? When all those circles in that Venn diagram intersect, when the last one is drawn, you know what's in the middle? Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is in the middle. You don't do a Venn diagram, where they cross Venn diagram. Anyway, go look up Venn diagram and you'll see. And no matter how many circles intersect, all of them have a common denominator, and that's Jesus Christ.
Amen.
So, that's my argument tonight for Psalm 34:17. That's my argument. That's my argument. Trust him. Praise him. Because he will deliver you out of all of your troubles. And the sad part about it is we get deliverance from all of our troubles, and then what do we do now? Then we go out and get even more trouble. And then we call on him again, and he delivers us out of that. And then what do? We go right back, because listen, Lord, if you get me out of this, I won't do it no more. Okay.
I'll never drink like this.
Yeah, I will never do
Till
it.
next time.
If you just stop the bed from spinning,